Today we are going to satisfy my inner impulsive, whimsical child by making an Easter bonnet. I have no doubt that most of you have made an Easter bonnet at some point in your life, whether you decorated it with flowers or with dinosaurs. I don't know why, but dinosaur seems to be the trend for Easter bonnets this year. I suppose I can kind of understand it. I mean, dinosaurs come from X, so the pure reason that I am doing this is because my route passes a couple of primary schools and there were a bunch of very small children all walking into school with their Easter bonnets, and I got so instantly jealous that I was not a primary school child who got to make Easter bonnets that I've decided that today I am a primary school child and I will be making an Easter bonnet. As this was an impulsive last-minute decision, I have not prepared for it whatsoever. I have absolutely no materials to go and make this, so the first thing on my to-do list is I'm going to go into town and I'm going to see what I can find. So what I'm hoping to be able to get is a bonnet to be my base, so I don't have to literally weave myself a hat. I'm hoping to be able to get those adorable little chicken things that you put on everything at Easter. I'm also hoping to be able to just find some fun, creative, colourful Eastery things. I've got no plan for this hat whatsoever. I'm just gonna make it up as I go and just have fun with it. The trip was not as fruitful as I would have liked it to be. Apparently, going to buy Easter things an entire week before Easter, more than a week, it's a week and 2 days before Easter, means that Easter stuff is no longer there because apparently that's too late. But I will be putting my food shop away and dying for a bit before I continue. Despite not being able to get a lot of the Easter craft stuff I was expecting to get, I did manage to get some good things. I managed to score some good stuff in the charity shops. Not necessarily Easter things, but it's definitely going to work for making the Easter bonnet. I will show you those things now. So the first item I got was this lovely sun hat. I managed to get this from the Blue Cross for only $7.99, which is pretty good. A lot nicer than just buying a standard tacky Easter hat. The second thing I managed to get were these really nice artificial flowers. I got these from a charity shop called Bernardo's and they were £3 each or 4 stems for £10. All in all, really good for the money. I also managed to stop by Ryman's and pick up these pastel foam eggs that would be really easy to sew onto the hat. So these were the only Easter thing I was actually able to find and they were £2 for the pack. After I got back, I also raided my own stash of supplies to see what I had, and I found out this nice creamy off-white fabric. I've had this for years and had absolutely no use for it until now, so I'm really excited to finally use it. I also dug through my scraps to see if there'd be anything that I might want to add on as embellishments. I stopped for refreshments before embarking on our next quest. I have my hat. I have a bunch of materials. I have absolutely no idea what I am going to do with any of it. A Pinterest board, because who among us doesn't? I ended up looking more into just like artistic hats as a whole and historic hats and just thinking like how very over the top upper class British 100, 200 years ago, all that kind of stuff, which did bring up some more interesting results. So I do think that's where a lot of my Pinterest board contains. So I will be drawing on some inspirations from that kind of stuff. Now I can't for the life of me remember how you wrap a hat in fabric, so I am consulting my Pinterest board. Okay, so I've consulted the Pinterests, and the method I will be using to cover the hat in fabric is, from what I can tell, the style of 18th century hats. So I guess that's roughly what I will be doing. I should probably watch a tutorial on this, but is she going to? No, she is not. She is going to wing it. How bad can it be? Based on looking at some images of hats being covered, I decided that the first step I was going to take would be by covering the actual dome where your head goes. I decided to do this by just covering it in 4 layers of the fabric, just to try and get a nice even coverage of it and to hide the weave underneath. I then realised to get the neatest finished at the end that I would have to pin and then sew each layer on individually. So I basically just had to repeat this step 4 times, which took me until the end of the day. I also spent the entire process wishing I had one of those curved upholstery needles, because doing this with a straight needle actually proved to be pretty tough. And as it turns out, I would spend the rest of the project wishing that I had a curved needle, because just get a curved needle if you're going to be sewing on a hat. Good morning and welcome to day 2. It's too low. Good morning guys, welcome to day 2. Today I'm going to start off by picking up where I left off on Friday. So I'm going to be starting off by sewing the covering rim of the hat first. Still don't entirely know how I'm going to do that. I've been trying to think about it over Saturday, but I think it's still one of those fuck around and find out kind of deals. After I've finished covering the entire hat, I think I will be moving on to the floral arrangements. I've got enough that I can just do like a nice even surrounding of the entire rim, but I'm still undecided if I actually want to do more of like a cluster on one side of the hat and leave the other side a bit plainer. Let's go do this. I've just noticed that Spider-Man has creeped into my shot. Say hello to the people, Spider. We actually have him sat inside a little mannequin and he just kind of sits in the living room. He kind of looks like Spider-Man wearing a turtleneck. I call him Spider-Man. Now I just need to trim off all this excess and cover the rim. I would tell you what my plan is, but I still don't know. I am very much just gonna make it up as I go along / think about it whilst I trim off this excess. I did manage to concoct a plan in which I had the utmost confidence. I don't think this is gonna work. Anyway, just from having an initial play, I think what I want to do is do a bit of a pleat around the entire circumference of it and then have that same pleat folded under to go under the hat, if that makes any kind of sense. I essentially just need lots of strips of it, because I think if I cut it out in one piece it wouldn't really circle around it that well. I did my first one. Just got like a million more to go. I'm also thinking I'm not going to be able to keep pinning them all the way around and then sew at the end because the pins will get trapped. So I'm thinking I might actually have to like tack it as I go at 3 different points. So I'm gonna have to have like 3 needles and threads hanging from this thing in one go. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what, this hat's actually quite hard to get through, so I'm actually gonna use a bigger needle because that makes sense. My method that I do not recommend you use involved pinning and sewing the hat at 3 different points. One at the base of the dome, another at the edge of the rim of the hat, and then a third on the actual inside. As you can imagine, this process was lengthy and took me a fair while. This is taking me so ridiculously long. This is as far as I've got. Out of the entire hat, I have done this and it has taken me about an hour. I worked it out, and if I continue at this pace, it will take me 9 hours to finish the rim. I'm hoping that I'll just pick up the pace as I go along because I'll get more and more used to doing it. But as a whole, yeah, I think it might just be one of those, it will take as long as it takes, which in this case is bloody ages. So yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna go and sit up on the sofa with a film and just monkey on with this bit. And I will come back to you when I'm ready to embellish, which might be like 5 days from now. I'm dressed, the hat is ready to be decorated. Let's crack on with it. Easter Bonnet. I'm gonna start out by just placing some things around the hat, just to get an idea of the kind of thing that I might want to be doing. I've just arranged some of the flowers and eggs around the hat, and I'm very happy with the results of just the planning. I've only got these bits that I haven't used with the flowers. The eggs, I've actually only used 4 of them. I used 2 blue ones and 2 white ones, and I think the simplicity of it actually does look quite nice. I'm going to take it apart now so I can assemble it back together properly, if that makes any kind of sense. I'm going to make a band around the hat in one piece and then make a bow out of some separate pieces and then just sew that on just to create the look of it being tied around. Primarily because I don't have any pieces long enough to do a full tie around with a decent bow on the back. As you can see, I have elected to be an idiot and hand sew. I'm not exactly putting my best stitching skills into this project. You know, this is my fun little daft I'm a child who misses making Easter bonnets project. Not everything needs to be perfect, some projects are just for fun. I have no consistency, it's really messy, but I don't care because this is my project. Me and Dan were watching Cinderella over breakfast this morning, in case you couldn't tell by the tune that is clearly stuck in my head. And in answer to the question that nobody was asking, yes, this is the longer method. Slowly mooch on with your own little projects, and you want to hand sew that ribbon, you hand sew that ribbon. It's time to do a Bob Ross video, isn't it? You know, even though I know exactly what those videos are, I've seen all the memes and all the jokes and stuff, I've never actually watched one. I think I'll add that to my list. I think one day I'll watch one, and I think I'll join along, I'll sit and paint it, which will be a real treat because my painting skills are horrendous. Basically, if it's stuck in my head, I'm going to make sure it gets stuck in your head too. Let's speed this up a little bit. I finished making the band to wrap around the hat and then secured that down. I then moved on to making the bow, which I realised very quickly I had absolutely no idea how to make, so I quickly looked up a tutorial on YouTube and found a really quick, easy one to follow, and pretty much just followed that through with the materials that I had, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. It turned out really cute. I've got my rim sewn onto the hat. I have my bow made it, I did a little test placement to see if I should sew the bow on now or after I've added the flowers to the back, and just based on how fiddly it was to get the flowers in place when I had the bow there, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to put the flowers on first and then add the bow on afterwards. So that is the step that I'm moving on to now. I've just finished the back section, which is looking very pretty if I do say so myself. The back section alone took me about an hour and 10 minutes because whilst these little flowers are really adorable, there's so many tiny little plastic bits that come off them that the thread just catches on it so badly that it does take a very long time to stitch each one in place. I'm very excited for it to be done because this whole process has been lengthy, but I'm very glad that I've put the time into doing it. From this point on, it was just a case of knuckling down with sewing on all of the little flowers and all the little leaves, which was incredibly fiddly, but turned out really, really great. All in all, this process took me a couple of hours. I also decided to shorten the length of some of the taller flowers that I'd originally planned to put in, as I realised that the hat would look much better balanced with having the heights be a bit more similar to each other than being so drastically apart. When it came to doing the tulle section, I also found it easier to actually tie the bunches together before sewing them on so they'd be held in place, as trying to do it individually was just getting so hard to actually get the needle through the hat, as there were so many things being sewn together so close together. Well, I couldn't not bring out a Jane Austen novel dress like this. Royal wave. I spent so long doing this hair and the hat is now very squishing it, and I feel like it's just like deflating all of the rolls on my head, and it's equally just gonna fall off at any moment. This was not a well thought out idea. How on earth did women used to wear hats on top of hairstyles like this? Because have you seen Edwardian hats? They are huge. So that's everything. This video is complete. Easter bonnet is amazing. I really wish I actually had a parade or something I could go to show it off, but alas, it's just gonna sit in my studio looking pretty. This was a fun one. I learned a lot in this, in that I learned the longest possible methods for making every possible stage of this. I especially enjoyed dressing up. This was my first attempt at historical hairstyling. I really enjoyed the little childhood flashback of making an Easter bonnet. I don't think I've made one since primary school. Why do we stop making those when we grow up? Like, fun stuff is for all ages. I think the only thing that could have possibly made this video any better is if I had bought some hot cross buns, so I could sit here eating hot cross buns dressed like this. Well, I think I've just made my Easter plans. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you for coming to my channel. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more random crafts that I impulsively fixate on for weeks at a time. Spoiler alert, I already have plans for the king's coronation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. All kinds of angles. Inspiration, please. To trust the process for some god unknown reason. Get everything off the floor because I throw stuff about a lot. I just have this inner urge whenever there's a storm that I need to be in it.